So if I have a triangle and I have angle A here, hide. All right, angle A here. This is 24, this is 16, and this is 19, okay? So if angle A is there, you need to find what first? Which side do you want to just kind of figure out that you know which is which is which? The hypotenuse you find first. What side is the hypotenuse? 19, 16, or 24? 24. You got to know that. Okay? So then we find the opposite next. Which side in this case is the opposite? 16. And then you find the adjacent. Which side would be the adjacent? 19. So if you're told to find the sine of angle A, it would be what two numbers over the top of each other? 16 over 24. If you're told to find the cosine of A, which two numbers would be over the top of each other? 19 over 24. If you're told to find the tangent of A, it would be 16 over 19. So those are the basics, okay? Figuring out what's opposite, adjacent, hypotenuse, and doing sine, cosine, and tangent. Now, what we worked into then on Friday is here's a triangle. Here's the right angle. And if I want to find this angle X down here, and this is 22, and this is 28, how big is angle X here? How many degrees is angle X? Okay, so we got to figure out what I'm given. What two sides am I given? Adjacent and hypotenuse. Because the hypotenuse is opposite the right angle, so this has to be the hypotenuse. And since we're talking about the side next to the angle that we want, we have the adjacent side. So, which trig function has both adjacent and hypotenuse? Cosine. Cosine of my angle X has my adjacent side over my hypotenuse. Now, I want to figure out what X is. Since X is on the same side as the cosine, to get X alone, I need to move my cosine to the other side. So X equals the inverse cosine of 22 over 28. So then on your calculator, you take second cosine 22 divided by 28 equals. And what do you get? 38.2. Okay? So that's how you find an angle. Let's do another one. Let's say we have a triangle that looks like this. X is here. This is square root of 19, and this is 21. All right. So how do I figure out X here? Well, I got to figure out what side is what. Which one's my hypotenuse? The bottom. It's not one of the numbers. So now I'm talking about my opposite and my adjacent. What is my opposite side? Square root of 19 is my opposite. My adjacent is 21. What trig function is opposite and adjacent? Tangent. So the tangent of angle X equals my opposite side, square root of 19, over my adjacent side of 21. So then, to get X alone, we move tangent to the other side. So it becomes inverse tangent of square root of 19 over 21. Now, this is where you have to be careful, because some of you will do this wrong and get the wrong answer. When you have the square root of 19 on top, you have to put that basically in parentheses when you're doing this, okay? So You see how when you hit the inverse tangent button on your calculator, when you hit the inverse tangent, it goes tangent -1 parenthesis. If you have a square root on the top, you have to put in another parenthesis. You have to hit the square root button, and then 19, and then what happens is it puts in a parenthesis. You have to close that parenthesis, hit the divided by sign, 21. And then if you want to put a parenthesis at the end, you can. But you need a parenthesis before you divide, or else it's going to be wrong. Okay? Know how to run your calculator. All right. So what was this angle in the end? Fairly small. 11.7 degrees. Okay? Are we good with that? Because if you don't put that parenthesis in, then it totally changes the answer. Yeah, totally different. Okay. So, are we comfortable finding angles? Okay. Now, let's look at finding sides. If this is 72 degrees, and this is 14, and I want to find x, okay? What two sides am I talking about here? Opposite, adjacent, hypotenuse. Well, what's 14? This is the hypotenuse. What is x? Opposite or adjacent? Opposite, because it's opposite that angle. Okay? So if we're opposite and hypotenuse, what trig function? Sine. Now this time, I have my angle. So I put the sine of my angle equals my opposite side over my hypotenuse. How do I get x alone? Multiply by 14. So 14's cancel. 14 sine of 72. 14 times the sine of 72. Should be around 12-ish. 13.31. Or 13.3 is good enough. Okay? Let's round to the, if it doesn't say in the directions what to round to, let's round to the nearest tenth, but I think it probably says in the directions today. Now, that one's not so bad. It's when you have the hypotenuse, that's x. Let's go. That's where it adds an extra step in. Okay, so here's my 21-degree angle. What two sides do I know? My what and my what? Hypotenuse and adjacent. Hypotenuse and adjacent. Which trig function is adjacent hypotenuse? Cosine is AH, adjacent hypotenuse. So the cosine of my angle, 21 degrees, is my adjacent side 16 over my hypotenuse of x. How do I get x alone? We got to multiply by x. When x is in the bottom, we can't just divide by 16. We have to multiply by x to get it out of the bottom, because you can't solve for a variable that's in the bottom. They cancel. X cosine of 21 equals 16. Then how do I get x alone? Divide by the cosine of 21. So x equals 16 divided by the cosine of 21, which actually makes x bigger than 16. Probably 20, what, 23? That's maybe too big. Okay, 17.1. Yeah, that was off. I'm just taking wild guesses here. Okay. Now, that's not so bad. You can handle that. Then they'll say, solve the triangle. That's where you have to put in a little more work. When you solve the triangle, we need every side and every angle. you need to give every side and every angle. So here we go. If this is 36 degrees, and this is 22, okay? And this is A, B, C. I need to know what angle A is, what angle C is, which is obviously 90. I need to know side AC, and I need to know side CB. Okay, so I need to find those three things. Because what I know 90, I know 36, and I know 22. The easiest thing to find is an angle or a side in this case. An angle. It's easy to find an angle here. Okay, well, how big is angle A? What's left? It's 54 degrees. Okay, 54 degrees. Now, using what they gave us, I have 36. To find this opposite side, if you want to put an X there, you can. If you want to put a B there, you can. Doesn't matter because side B is opposite of angle B. So if I want to find B here, if I want to find B, then I say, well, that's opposite. 22 is the hypotenuse. So the sine of my angle, 36, equals the opposite over my hypotenuse. How do I get B alone? Multiply by 22. So B equals whatever 22 times the sine of 36 is. Point what? So 9.0. That's AC. No? 12.9. See, I didn't hear you. 12.9. Okay. So then if I want to find this side, we'll call it A because it's opposite angle A. If I want to find A, where is it compared to 36? Adjacent, so we'd use cosine. Cosine of my 36-degree angle equals A over 22. Now how do I get A alone? Multiply by 22. So A equals what? 17.8. And I just solved this triangle. Now I know every side and every angle. Okay, I need to find angle A, angle B, and side AB. Now, I only know the 90-degree angle. So what am I going to have to do to figure out angle A? Well, what two sides am I given from angle A? Opposite and adjacent. Which trig function is opposite adjacent? Tangent. So the tangent of angle A, because I don't know what A is, equals my opposite side, 24, over my adjacent side, 16. Okay? So then, move tangent to the other side. A equals the inverse tangent of 24 over 16. What does that work out to be? 56.3. So now that I have 56.3 there, I can figure out angle B just by using subtraction. Because there's 180 degrees in a triangle, 90 of it is used up there, so I have 90 left to share between the other two. So 90 minus 56.3 is 33.7. Okay. Now, if you wanted to, you could use the Pythagorean theorem to figure out AB, because it's two legs of a right triangle, or you could use trig. Now, Using trig, if I want to find AB, that's my hypotenuse. So we put an X there. So I could say, well, the sine of angle A, no, the cosine of angle A, no, it's sine, I don't care. Sine of angle A equals 24 over X, right? And we know angle A is 56.3, so the sine of 56.3 equals 24 over X. How do I get X alone? Multiply by X. X sine of 56.3 equals 24. Then divide by sine of 56.3. What does X equal? 28 point what? 28.8. Get more comfortable with this? Okay. Sine, opposite over hypotenuse. Cosine, adjacent over hypotenuse. Tangent, opposite over adjacent. If you're looking for an angle, you use the inverse. Second that. If you're looking for a side, it's just normal. Sine, cosine, or tangent. Okay? So I have a worksheet for you to do today. And that's it. We're just going to do the worksheet and finish up what you didn't finish up on Sabbath. So if some of you have some Sabbath to finish up, we'll finish up that as well.